time. Star Tennessee quarterback Nico Iamaleava deciding to transfer to UCLA. The departure was messy, and in Big Ten days, that was the biggest question he was asked. Why did you leave? So whether it was NIL or wanting to be closer to his family, none of it really matters now. He is there and playing in one of the most iconic stadiums in the country.
Man, I've always wanted to play in the Rose Bowl. I almost had a chance last year to come here and play. Came up short, but I've always been excited to play in the stadium, and man, it's a surreal moment for me, and I can't wait to just get in there.
What have you learned about yourself as a leader of the Blue and Gold throughout these past couple of weeks?
I think just me stepping out my comfort zone and being a more vocal guy. I think Coach Tino has helped me, tremendously in being uncomfortable, being comfortable, being uncomfortable. So I think just him pushing me to lead the team and step out my comfort zone has been a big deal for me.
All right, so a veteran quarterback now. Let's welcome back in Tom Fornelli, Chip Patterson. I get to spend time with you now. Tom, let's start with you. I mean, we've seen this guy. We know who he is. What is his expectations at UCLA?
I mean, I was driving the Nico bus at this time a year ago, really hyping him up as a Heisman candidate. And his first season at Tennessee statistically did not really quite live up to the hype, although Tennessee still reached the college football playoff. And I am still a believer in Nico Iamaleava. And I think that as we talk a lot about young quarterbacks, we need to give them a little more grace for struggles in their first full seasons as starters, because it is not an easy position to play. So I think now that he's had the experiences he earned at Tennessee, played in the environments he played in, having the success he had, having some of the failures, and then dealing with this entire offseason circus, I do feel like he might be in a better position mentally to prepare to play football and to kind of start living up to his physical potential, because he is huge, he is fast, he has a very strong arm. And the accuracy was a question for him at times last year, but he's also shown on tape plenty of times that he can be a very accurate passer. So I think getting into this offense with Tino Sinceri, who has been an excellent offensive play caller and designer in his time as an assistant head coach across the country already, I think this is a very good marriage. And while I do have some questions about the players around him at UCLA, because I don't know if they're quite as strong as what he was dealing with at Tennessee, I think that Nico is poised to have a strong year for the Bruins and help get them to a bowl game.
Yeah, I think that Nico mentioned Tino Sinceri there in that response for a reason. It's because that has been an impactful relationship. He spoke at Big Ten Media Days with us about the change in the language and learning the new offense, because we know that Josh Heupel's offense at Tennessee, has a little bit of a reputation. It's one that can be very productive, but it's also a little reductive, as in it doesn't ask you to do a lot. And I think that with Tino Sinceri and in this UCLA offense, I think that maybe Nico might be able to break out of his shell, and Nico might be able to showcase all of the talents that made him a five-star prospect coming out of high school. Tom's right. You get with him in person, and you are wowed by all the physical tools. And I just think that while the talent around him, I agree, is not necessarily going to be the same level for Tennessee, there might be a fit that is a little bit better, both in terms of being closer to family, but also being in a little bit of a different offense.
And by the way, kickoff for this game, 11 Eastern on Saturday. So in the words of Chip Patterson, we need the sickos to come out for this one because it's week one. You got to be watching all the games. Let's talk about UCLA when it comes to the run game. Fewest rushing touchdowns by a Power 4 team in all of last season. Tom, can we see improvements there?
I hope you see improvements there. They definitely need it. But they brought in transfer Javian Thomas from Cal last year, who was the leading rusher for the Bears. He had a very good season for them, even if he wasn't a workhorse. But what I like about the pairing here is if you look at those struggles and you're staring at the numbers right now, they are very, very ugly. There was nothing exciting about what UCLA was doing on the ground. And the one reason I think that the numbers were as bad as they were is, A, defenses did not really truly were scared of the UCLA passing attack and Ethan Garber, so they were able to stack the box a lot. And B, UCLA, they just didn't hit enough explosive runs. There was not enough big play opportunity in their run game. Javian Thomas brings big game opportunity. You see there, he averaged over 6 yards per carry while with Cal last year. You get him in the backfield with Nico, who is not somebody you look at as a guy who's going to run a 4.4 or a 4.5 40, but he's very long. He's got long legs. He takes big strides, and he can move. So you get a little RPO action going in there where defenses have to pick their poison. It's going to open up some lanes for Thomas to hit some home runs, which is what they seriously lacked in that run game last year. So I think statistically it'll be hard for him to be worse, but I also just think aesthetically it's going to be much better looking.
Okay, so some better parts, maybe some okay parts. Chip, overall, look, second year under DeShaun Foster. They went, I think 5-7 last year. What are your expectations for this team overall?
I think this team should make a bowl game. Their win total is set at 5.5. I've got them going over that win total. I know that they are very high on some of the other pieces they brought in. Obviously, Javian Thomas among them, but also at wide receiver. And when I look at the middle of this schedule, Amanda, I think about the difference between Joey Aguilar and Nico Iamaleava. And the idea that if you've got coin flip games against teams like Michigan State, Maryland, even maybe Northwestern or Nebraska, you have made yourself more likely to win those coin flip games by being able to have a plus value player at the quarterback position and potentially one of the better quarterbacks in the entire Big Ten. And so he falls into your lap a little bit, right? I mean, you definitely weren't going into the season thinking that you were going to have Nico Iamaleava as your quarterback. Now, all of a sudden, I do think he takes you over the top. I am bullish on what this offense could look like and what Nico means, again, for coin flip games in the Big Ten.
Yeah, I'm with you, Chip. I think a bowl game is very reasonable for this squad. I don't think we're looking at a team that's going to push for a playoff spot in the Big Ten. I think the schedule is a little too difficult for them. Like, starting off the year with a Utah team that should be pretty good is tough. That UNLV game in week 2 looks a lot easier based on what I saw from the Runnin' Rebels last week. But when you get into conference play, as you were mentioning, Chip, there's a lot of these coin flip kind of games where you're going to need somebody to make a play in the fourth quarter to win it. And all of a sudden, if you're UCLA and you have Nico Iamaleava, you have one of the most talented quarterbacks in the Big Ten. And a lot of weeks against your opponents, you're going to have the better quarterback in the game. So that's going to give them a bump and an advantage as the season goes along. And I think that as the year goes along, he's going to get more and more comfortable in the offense. So we're going to see the offense improving all season long. So I do think this is a team that can win 6 or 7 games. And I think that should be your expectation if you're a Bruins fan.
Okay, so let's go to the other side here with the Utes. And let's start with the quarterback position. After 7 years, 7 seasons, we are done with the Cam Rising era, if you can call it that. That is done. They now rest in peace. Yes, thank you, Tom. They now have a dual threat quarterback, Tom Phillison. What do we need to know about this guy?
I love Devin Dampier. I talked about last season. I was a year too early on Nico Iamaleava, but I was right there on the ground floor for Devin Dampier at New Mexico last season. That was one of the most exciting and electric offenses to watch in the country last year. They only won 5 games, but I'm telling you, folks, every single one of those games was a banger. He's coming to Utah. He's bringing his same offensive coordinator that he had with him in the Lobos and under Bronco Mendenhall last season. And if you look at Utah the last few years, this has still been your typical Utah team, the team that was typically one of the better units in the Pac-12 year in and year out under Kyle Whittingham. It's just they were so devastated by injuries at the quarterback position that the offense just had no hope and no prayer of doing anything consistently. Dampier fixes that. He is a very electric, exciting player. I think Utah is a team that's flying a bit under the radar, and I think could surprise a lot of people, and Dampier is the biggest reason why.
Amanda, let me put it in a language that'll speak to your heart. All of the excitement that you feel about John Mateer because he's also bringing Ben Arbuckle with him, you don't have to change that language. That's what people are feeling about Devin Dampier coming over with Jason Beck. The idea that he is not going to have to go through any kind of new terminology. He's going to understand not just the playbook, but why the plays are being called the way that they are. And when you've got a player who likes to freestyle the way that Dampier does, he will do so knowing full well exactly what he can and cannot do within the system. Beck was an extremely gifted play caller, good quarterback coach, someone who I think very highly of among offensive coordinators. And so, yes, by being able to pair quarterback with coordinator, I think you have made the chances of that quarterback having success even more likely.
Chip, I'm appreciative of you putting that in my language because I actually need you to do that for this next topic. I did not clarify with my producer importance of a fast start for Utah. Are we talking about in this game or for this season? Because they did come off their first losing season since 2013. So, Chip, which way are we talking about? Or is it both ways, in this game and in this season, a fast start?
Well, yeah, I just think you don't want to all of a sudden hit a situation where we start wondering about Kyle Whittingham. This is a coach who has announced he's going to retire, and he's put a TBD on it. He's even named the successor, Morgan Scalley, the defensive coordinator. But I just think that the more that we are focusing on success on the field for Utah and less wondering about what the future is, the more likely we are to have a locker room that's going to be bought in together. So, yes, I would say that within the context of this season, with so many of those, difficult games loaded up in the last 6 or 7 games of the season, that's where you want to get to a fast start so that when you hit Big 12 play, you're able to have a better performance, because this is a group that has suffered some awful injury luck over the last couple of seasons. It has not just been the Cam Rising, will he, won't he of the last 2 seasons. It's been all over the depth chart. And so if they get off to a strong start, if they're able to have a little bit of confidence, we're not wondering about the future of the program. We're just talking about whether Utah is going to be contending for a Big 12 title in the college football playoff.